Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Saturn, sextile, or trine one's natal Saturn. Now, when you have this transit, it may manifest in career, the career, I should say, hard work, the father, authority figures, responsibilities, discipline, and structure, being in harmony with your own career. And I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. It could be where you're willing to make your career out of your career, figuratively speaking, even if you're, somewhat, and I'm going to expound on that. If you're going to like if it's a time when you're dominated by your work, your job, your business, it's a time where you could actually, you may enjoy it a little more, or you're willing to do it and be responsible for it without becoming overly exasperated or despondent about it. It can be about a lot of laborious effort, but at the same time, it can wind up being productive in the process as well. And this is a time where you're more apt to thrive more on responsibilities at your place of business. At this time, more so than you ordinarily would. You're willing to, this is a good time for planning some kind of hard labor at this point in time. I mean, if you have, say, your natal Saturn's in Taurus, it could be doing something with carpet laying or agriculture, architecture, even construction. I would say it could be something with gardening or cultivation as some examples. It may be a time to where this is also a time about responsibilities. I mean, it could be where you're more apt to be responsible for the father, for older people, even authority figures if you have a rapport with one at this time. Because sometimes you could work in a place in isolated cases if you're in a subordinate role. Some cases you can have certain compatibility with those superiors. I've had some situations where I've even had authority figures look upon me as a son, where I would have perceived them like a father, and they would see me as a son. So this does happen, and it's a time where, as well, where you're willing to work hard at your place of business and not be again, be exasperated or agitated by this. You're willing to take on responsibilities at this place more so than you ordinarily would. And it's also a time where the father and older people may be more beneficial to things that you're responsible for, and things that really fall on you, but they could be beneficial in taking care of those matters. If you have your natal Saturn in Libra, say, it could be something connected with art or fashion design, or it could be a legal matter. It could be a matter that may involve some kind of reconciliation, as some examples. And this is a time where it could be very auspicious for hard work that you do in a very disciplined manner. If it's a time, I mean, this could be a very positive time where you could do something that's regimented, and have something where you work like at a set time, and you don't have do this at a certain time, do this at a certain time, and have it set and be able to do this without little distractions or diversions at this time, more so than you ordinarily would. Now, anatomically speaking, okay, Saturn is connected with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings, and gallbladder. So this is a time where if you procrastinated or hesitated on these matters, it's a time where you might give these things more serious consideration. It might be where you are willing to take more responsibility for these matters, and you're at least perceiving it and as something of more serious nature, even if it's something that's just like a minor ache or pain, minor joint pain, because at this time you might look at it like, okay, I don't want this to escalate. I want to do something about this and be able to concentrate on these matters more so than usual. And it's a time again where you would take them more seriously if you do have issues with what I just stated that anatomically corresponds with Saturn. Now, Saturn is also connected with chronic illnesses. So if you have anything chronic issue that you're going through, and say, if you have something, say Saturn is in Pisces, it could be something with the feet or the toes, or it might be something with the immune system or pineal gland, or say if this is in, say if you have the natal Saturn. Another example, it could be some Saturn in Scorpio. It could be something with the colon, the bladder, or the prostate as some examples. That could be chronic. This is a time where, if you've been, you feel like you could get treatment for it and you've procrastinated, this is the time where you could take it more seriously and actually, do something about this and put that focus and concentration on it at this point in time. And now Saturn is also associated with limitations and restrictions. So, you may be willing, to work hard, work laboriously to get yourself through, things that are limiting, at this point in time. I'm sorry, I could say that again. I have my natal Saturn in Taurus in my 12th house. And Saturn in the 12th, and Saturn in Taurus, even by itself, and the generational, can indicate, limitations and restrictions, with self-worth and money, possessions, how you feel about yourself, and the fact that I got in the 12th house of limitations, of fears, and it's actually the placement can be, what's bad about that, it makes it tougher to work through those limitations. And the thing about it is, like, say if you have your own, Saturn in Taurus in your chart, it might be, something like what I have. It could be some issues that are, might be some limitations that are monetary, that are about self-worth, that are about possessions, but you may be willing to work harder to get yourself through that, to deal with those situations at this time, more so than you ordinarily would. And Saturn is also connected with delays. So it might be a time where, if you're willing to work hard, it might prevent those delays or minimize the damage to some degree. Minimize the delays you may potentially have during this transit, because if you're willing to work hard and not procrastinate or hesitate on a project, put in a few more hours, it may be, such where, you can you be more apt to get your work done on time with little delay. And little or no delay. And it's also a time to work hard regarding your fears, at this time. Again, I have the Saturn in the 12th house. That could be, fear of the unknown, where the unknown could put one in a strong state of fright or trepidation. And sometimes it just, for me, it would just be like going outside the box, so to speak, trying to embark on something, that I've never really, tried before. And it could require, more, devotion and concentration, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be done. And being, taking responsibilities, for one's fears, it could be a very positive time for that. Like, say if you have your natal Saturn in Aquarius, right? And you're having this transit, you might have some fear, connected with society or integrating in groups and clubs, organizations, but it's a time where you could focus on that more and concentrate and be able to work hard to work through, those situations at this time, more so than you ordinarily would. And it's also a good time for concentration in general, because you have the planet, it's connected with concentration, making a good aspect to the natal Saturn, which is connected with concentration, of course, because it's the same planet, and be able to focus even more on things that require, certain concentration. If you have, say, the natal Saturn in Libra, you could be doing something, with art or legal matter, or even a Libra-related sport. I would say it could be something like tennis or gymnastics, as some examples, something that requires balance. If you're into Jenga, hey, that could be an example. But anyway, this also can be a time, another way this transit may manifest, it could be about taking the responsibility, which is Saturn, to the father and older people, which is Saturn. Now, let's say, for example, if transit Saturn is in Virgo, it could be cleaning, organizing, compartmentalizing as some examples. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about coming back, but anyway, yeah, that's my catchphrase. But anyway, if let's say another way this transit may be expressed, it could be that the father, which is Saturn, could be more in harmony and agreement with your career, which is Saturn. If the natal Saturn is in Aries, as an example, it could be a career that may involve firefighting, arson investigation, welding, carpentry. It might be one that requires some courage and confrontation. It could be like auto repossession, as an example. Um, Another way this transit could manifest is that it could be very auspicious for planned and premeditated, which is Saturn work, which is Saturn. If natal Saturn is in Scorpio, as an example, it could be doing work that involves trash, refuge, recycling, forensics, investigation, as some examples. It could also be a time where it's propitious for discipline, which is Saturn, mentoring, which is Saturn as well. If the natal Saturn is, let's say, if it's in Aquarius, in the eighth house, it could be doing something with computers, which is Aquarius, and forensics, which is the eighth house. And it could also be a time where it's very positive for concentration, which is Saturn, on limitations and fears, which is also Saturn. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.